What is up, Nerf Nation? I'm Naptown Nerf, and this is an unboxing and review of the Dart Zone Ballistic Ops Velocity. Alright, you guys, so the Velocity is a revamped version of the Accelerator, and I think this one's going to be better than the Accelerator, but we will definitely find out soon enough. Now, this holds more rounds and has a bigger hopper than the Accelerator did. This is going to hold 40 rounds and also comes with 40 rounds, which is super cool. It is advertising something of an anti-jamming mechanism or an auto agitator, so I think that's a new thing. I don't believe the Accelerator had that, or maybe this is just made up. We will find out when we crack this thing open. So that's cool, and it's also advertising 100 FPS. So that is on par with your rival blasters and should be really awesome if this thing can hit that. Now, this blaster reminds me a little bit of the Hera, but instead of magazine fed, it's hopper fed. So if you prefer hopper fed but more of the size of a Hera, I think this could be a really awesome option. We will compare those two blasters here in a minute. The back of the box is showing that this blaster has a rev trigger, which is awesome. The Quantum that I reviewed from Dart Zone did not have a rev trigger, and that was quite unfortunate. If you want to check out that review, definitely click the annotation above here. But this thing definitely looks like it has a lot of potential to be awesome. So let's go ahead and crack this thing open, guys. So in the box, you get your blaster, you get your 3 different colors of team markers, you get a pretty cool little tactical sight thing here, you get your 40 rounds, and you get some directions. Okay, you guys, so this is the Velocity, and it definitely looks and feels pretty darn good, but we need to go ahead and put on one of our team markers, and this time I think I'm going to go with green just to do something different and add a little color to the blaster. So we'll go ahead and slap those guys in. This one goes actually on this side. There we go. And then if you want to change those out, you can just put a little screwdriver or something behind there, pop them out, change them out. So that's pretty darn cool. And this hopper does have a new feature, a little agitating thing inside there. But when you pull this trigger here, it actually moves this piece of plastic up and down, which is pretty neat. So let's go ahead and go over the other features of the blaster. This does have a trigger lock right here, so when you push that forward, you won't be able to pull your trigger. If you push it back that way, you will be able to pull your trigger as long as the blaster is revved. You have to pull this rev trigger first, and then you'll be able to pull the main trigger, so know that also. The grip is a little small, but still pretty comfortable, not too bad. It has this little finger guard thing up front here, which is an interesting touch, so you can't move your finger too far away. I'm not real sure exactly what the purposes of that is, but it's not too bad, kind of neat. There are 2 tactical rails, one on this side and one on this side, so that's really cool, and that will give us a place to put that little optic that they gave us right here, so we can just slide that guy right on, and then you can kind of sight it in this way. You kind of have to hold your blaster kind of gangster style to sight that in, but it makes sense actually, because you can't really sight down the line, the top of the blaster, because of this hopper here. So you kind of do have to hold it on the side if you want to use an optic. So that's pretty cool. Nice feature. This also has a jam door right here. So even though it says it has an anti-jamming mechanism, if you do get a jam, you still will be able to clear that with your jam door here. So that's really neat. The hopper does remove. There's a button up here you can push forward, and that will allow you to remove your hopper. So that's pretty sweet, and this should be compatible with rival magazines, so we will test that out when we get outside and fire this thing off. Now, this blaster does not have a stock like the Hera does, which is a little disappointing, but it's still pretty cool. It is a little bit larger than the Hera, at least lengthwise. The Hera here is just a tad shorter, a couple inches shorter, but they're both pretty nice sized blasters and still allow you to kind of run and gun. So both blasters you can be very mobile with, so that's nice. This is thinner than the Hera, but obviously taller because of the hopper. Really cool blaster, has a nice little foregrip here, although that's not like a super comfortable thing to grip because of all this, you know, molding that they've done up here. but it does give you a place to put your hand. But the blaster definitely has a really nice look, really aggressive look. I really think it looks pretty slick. So let's go ahead and load up our 40 rounds. So actually we will just pop this guy right open just like that, which is cool. Gives you a nice hole there. Not huge, but a decent sized hole to throw some balls in. Alright, so I went ahead and loaded this thing up with the 40 rounds. There is a little bit more room in there, so you possibly might be able to fit a few more in, but probably we don't want to fit too many more than that in because that agitator that's in there won't have room to move. So that's pretty cool. And we'll go ahead and throw in some batteries. Got a screwdriver here. We'll remove this battery door. And you will have to remove the hopper actually to put the batteries in. And the battery tray is your normal Nerf Rival battery tray, which is really awesome, so that Rival battery pack will fit in here. So that's really, really cool. Alright, you guys, so the Rival rechargeable battery pack does work in this blaster, which is awesome. And I recommend you guys purchase one of those if you plan on buying this and playing with it a lot. This blaster, the Quantum, or any of the Nerf Rival blasters that are compatible with this, which would be all of the motorized blasters except for the Zeus. I think it's a great buy. I'll put a link in the description box to where you can purchase one on Amazon. Sometimes they have it on sale, but I think it retails for around $30. But that's going to be a lot cheaper than replacing your batteries with those C or most likely D batteries. This one takes 6 D batteries if you don't have that rechargeable battery pack, so that gets expensive over time. So kind of recommend that if you are interested in using a motorized Rival blaster. So this blaster is powered up and ready to go, so let's take it outside, put it over the chronograph in the range, and see what kind of performance it's getting. Alright, you guys, let's go ahead and put some shots over the chronograph with the velocity and see if it's getting that 100 FPS it is advertising. 99, 95, 97, 105, 102, 101, 104, 107, 98, 100, 101, 95, 105, 100, 103, 101, 102. So for whatever reason, I was having a really hard time pulling this trigger, and I'm not sure why that was. I have a feeling it has to do with this agitator mechanism inside the hopper there, because actually when you're pulling the trigger, it is not only pushing a ball into the flywheels, it is also pushing this agitator up and agitating those balls. So it's doing two things at once, but that is making the trigger pull extremely hard, and sometimes I pull the trigger and not even a ball gets pushed into the flywheels. It's really, really strange. I'm gonna have to play with this a little bit more to see kind of what's going on, but that is definitely not the greatest. And then not only that, the balls, as you could probably tell, were curving a lot to the right. So I'm not sure if that has to do with this hop-up mechanism. This is actually a piece of plastic in here instead of like the rubbery mechanism that Nerf uses. And inside, the flywheels look a tad bit tilted, so there may be some tolerance issues there too. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw in that Nerf Rival mag and see if that actually helps out our trigger pull issue. Well, that's so much easier. 93, 81, 96, 93, 92, 93, 84, 86, 89, 87, 90, 98, and that is it. The performance actually seemed to be much, much better with the Dart Zone Rival rounds than the actual Hasbro Nerf Rival rounds. So the Nerf Rival rounds were, you know, right here around that 51-foot range. There's one here at 54, two here at 54 about. So in that 50 to 55-foot range. There was one that came up here to 61, and then there's a couple that actually got up to about 68 feet or so. The Dart Zone balls got much, much better ranges and higher FPS. There's one here at 73 feet, one here at
77 feet. One here at just short of 80. There's one back there at 78, and then there's one over here at 81. But they went far, far to the right. As you can see, they were curving way to the right. So it's just really weird. We had balls even all the way up here to, you know, almost 90 feet. So yeah, there's a couple, one in the fence here. My overgrown blackberry bush here is crazy, but you know, up to 90 feet, which is really good performance. Oh man, there's one all the way down here. This is over 100 feet. So that's really impressive performance. I'm just a little confused to why it's curving so much. May just be a little bit of a flaw in the flywheels. When I look down there, it does look like there's less space on the right side of the flywheel than the left. So maybe a little bit of a tolerance issue, I'm not sure. Maybe I could crack this thing open and try to take a look at it, but you know, performance-wise, it's really good, but for whatever reason, that trigger pull is really, really hard. Yeah, there's a lot of trigger pulls there that no balls were coming out. I don't know, guys. It's a little finicky for sure.
All right, you guys. So the velocity here is easily hitting that 100 FPS mark with the Dart Zone Power Strike rounds. Now, for whatever reason, the Nerf rival rounds were getting a little bit lower than that, and that was a little weird, and I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe these specific Power Strike balls are maybe a little denser or something like that, and they're just getting a higher FPS than the Nerf rival rounds, but normally those balls could perform very equally, and they did when I reviewed the Quantum, so I'm not exactly sure why the Power Strike Dart Zone balls are performing better, but they are. Nevertheless, I think that's pretty darn good performance out of the blaster. Very impressive there. The balls were tending to curve quite a bit. Now that may have something to do with the higher FPS, as rival rounds tend to get a lot less accurate the more FPS you add to them, but I don't think that was enough FPS really to cause that much curvature of the ball, so that was a little strange. Definitely some testing would have to be done to kind of figure out that issue, but then that may just be an issue with my specific blaster and may not be an issue with all of them. I really don't know. Now, the issue with the trigger pull. Now, the reason why the trigger pull is so hard is because sometimes a ball will drop down into the slot here and then move forward right up against the flywheel. So then you're actually trying to push two balls into the flywheels, and the pusher, that makes it obviously going to be a lot harder to push two balls into a flywheel cage than just one, and sometimes you'll even shoot two balls. So that's I think the reason why it was having that problem. For whatever reason, it seemed to work better when I had a magazine inserted instead of the hopper, but I'm sure it could possibly happen with that too. There's definitely some inconsistencies with this. I'm not sure how. I think the agitator works pretty well, but it's obviously not perfect. But it is helpful to have that in there, I think, instead of having to shake your, hopper or your blaster to get balls down into the thing. But actually, I feel like too many balls are getting into there. So, yeah, this isn't perfect. Maybe this is why Nerf hasn't come out with a semi-auto hopper blaster yet. But I think this blaster is pretty good. I don't think it's a terrible buy. It is $40, and I believe only available at Target, to my knowledge. So I will definitely put a link in the description box. The other only small issue I have with this blaster is the rev trigger isn't the most comfortable, and it also is a little bit tough to pull. It isn't too bad, but it's a little bit stronger of a spring there than a Nerf Hera or pretty much any Nerf blaster is. But I really like the look of the blaster. I think it's a really nice size. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and appreciated this review. Don't forget to smash that like button. Please subscribe. And as always, guys, peace out.